Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for this workshop, which is to understand how your website is performing. This is part of Go and Grow Online programme, which is in partnership with Microsoft, Vodafone and Klarna. Would love to hear from you this morning. So there is a chat function. Do feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from today, your name and your business, as we would love to hear from you. My name is Nikki, and I am a programs manager for Enterprise Nation in Ireland. And as I said, we are delighted to have you here with us today. So just so you're aware, Go and Grow Online is a 12-month program, which is basically set up to support small businesses across Ireland in all areas of digital and to get you digitally upskilled, and also ultimately to help you grow. We do have a variety of workshops that will be taking place over the coming weeks and months. So I will pop that in the chat, and we would love to see you at some future online events, all of which are free and cover a variety of different topics, including cybersecurity, tips to perfect your PR pitch, pricing strategy, and more. So we would love to see you at some future events. Now, without further ado, I'm going to pass you across to Geraldine, who has so much knowledge. So I hope you get a lot from today's session. Geraldine is an Enterprise Nation and Go and Grow Online advisor. So Geraldine's going to be going through the presentation this morning. Then at the end of Geraldine's presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. So do pop those in the question box, as we would love to hear from you and be able to help you on your business journey. Also, just want to remind you that you can connect with Geraldine after today's session by visiting the Enterprise Nation website, and you can have a free discovery call with Geraldine via her advisor profile, all of which I'll be able to pop in the chat to let you know about. But thank you so much, Geraldine. I've seen a couple of your workshops before, and I know you have a wealth of knowledge, so I know that everyone will get a lot from today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi, everyone. Just to let you know that I'm using GoToWebinar for the first time. I can't actually see anybody. I'm here all alone in this room. I hope it goes well. Just like you, I am a small business owner. Swan Consulting was started by myself and my partner a couple of years ago. He's a software developer and I'm a digital marketer. So Geraldine Swanepoel. I'm South African of origin, but living in Ireland, Dublin, for the last 22 years. Can you believe it? Time flies when you're having fun. So digital marketing is very wide, obviously, but I specialize mostly in search engine optimization, or SEO, which I'm sure you've heard of before. But today we're talking about understanding how your website is performing. Hopefully most of you do have a website. If not, talk to me afterwards. So, how do you understand how your website is performing? And why does your website performance matter? Firstly, it matters because of user experience. So when I'm using the term user, I'm talking about the people that come to your website, website visitors throughout the presentation. So yourself, you are all users. You have experience surfing the internet for a number of years now, I'm sure. So you are a user. And you know for yourself, but especially for the younger generation out there, people have short attention spans and they seem to be getting shorter and shorter. Their expectations are formed by big brands and viral videos. They're really expecting a lot from your website when they get to it these days. The user experience on your website is therefore of paramount importance if you want to delight your customers and not frustrate them. And I'm sure we've all had frustrating experiences on the internet. Especially for the younger generation, if they're frustrated, they'll easily bounce away and seek out someone else to buy from. They won't have any hard feelings generally, but you'll be missing out on their attention. So what you want to ensure with your website is that you make it as frictionless as possible, so that users will take the desired actions on your site, whether you want them to buy a product, sign up for a newsletter, or give you a call. The next reason why your website performance matters is SEO. As I mentioned before, that's something I'm quite passionate about. Search engine optimization is how people find your website over time when they are using Google. And of course, there are other search engines out there, but Google is by far the most widely used search engine. You don't want your competitors to be outranking you on the search engine results pages, or SERPs, as we like to call them. And your website performance has a direct influence on Google's ranking factors for SEO. Now, Google has more than 200 ranking factors, that's true, and they're sometimes a little bit opaque, but they have given a lot of information over the years about what they consider to be important. So now Google analyzes your website's technical performance in a type of lab-like scenario, really like a simulation. But as your website gets more traffic, it also uses real-world data that is being gathered. And how users behave on your site then gives major signals that are taken into account for your site's SEO and ranking with Google. Have you ever thought about reputation as being important in your website performance? Warren Buffett says it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Even if you're just starting out in your business, you have to think about your brand long term, and you need to build towards that every day. Your website forms a big part of your brand and thus your reputation. How your website performs is a reflection to potential customers of how you and your business will perform for them. Unless your offering is completely unique, there are many others offering something similar to you. So you need to differentiate yourself from your competitors, and in a good way, not building a bad reputation. The last thing that I consider to be important to your website performance is revenue. Even if you started your business because you wanted to help people, or you just wanted to pursue your passion, your business still needs to make money. Unless you're a trust fund baby, of course, but I doubt many small business owners are. So how your website is performing has a direct influence on your bottom line, especially if you are an e-commerce store and are selling products on your website. But even if you provide a service, or your website is just a brochure website, your website really is your business card, a brochure, your marketing machine, and your sales agent rolled into one. And it needs to be focused on making you money. And if users can't find your website, or they don't like what they find, then they don't become customers, and you lose out on any revenue that you could make. So, which key metrics should you be measuring in order to hit all those targets for your website performance? Firstly, site speed. And I'm sure if you've been around a while with a website and you've been focusing on your website, you really do understand that site speed is very important. It has become one of the major factors in how well your website is perceived as performing. And this, of course, plays into issues like user experience and SEO and reputation. and revenue, as I mentioned. You can have the most amazing design. Your website can be filled with incredibly useful information for your customers, and it can have exciting things on it like videos or good deals that you're offering. But if your competitor has anything similar on their site, but it loads faster, then you will rank lower than them. It's that simple. 3 seconds seems to be the magic number here. If your site takes longer than this to load, then a user will bounce away, unless they are really motivated to hang around because they've heard of something that's happening on the website, or they really, really, really want that one product that you have on your online store. And there are many things that affect site speed. I go into this in quite some detail on my social media posts as well. But site speed can be affected by the hosting of your website. Now, if you're using a platform like Squarespace or Wix, you don't control the hosting. But if you have a WordPress website, then you can control the hosting. What we have found, we also do website development, is that a lot of cheaper hosting options that people are offered for their WordPress sites means that they have shared hosting, which means that a host is really just a computer. So it means that other websites are also on that same computer or server. And if they are very busy, getting lots of visitors, or are very resource heavy, it means that there is less bandwidth, if you were, available for your site, and that can slow your site down. And then there's a lot of technical things that can be done to help improve the speed of your site. You may have heard of caching as well. That's where if somebody has been to your site before, when they return, they're shown a page that they've seen previously, and it doesn't have to load it from originally from the website, from your site itself on the server. So that can help to speed things up as well. So things don't have to be traveling as far on the internet. So you can use something like Cloudflare, that is a content delivery network that helps your website to be loaded quickly in terms of caching. And obviously things like images play a very big role in how quickly your website loads, and whether you have video, how you have that implement on the new site. So there's a number of things that influence the speed of your site that you need to look into. Because as I said, people have short attention spans. And if they bounce away from your site, that not only means that they're not looking at your information, but it also means that Google is going, why are people not staying on their site? Why are they leaving so quickly? It must not be a good site. And Google, what they want to do is to give people good sites that people want and like. The next metric that you should be thinking about measuring is page performance. Now, page performance has a direct correlation with user experience and also SEO. Last year, over the summer, Google rolled out a major algorithm update called the Page Experience Update. And Google continues to adjust their algorithm to provide a better surfing experience for us all. I know, people have lots of opinions about Google and what they're doing and the fact that they're making so much money off their advertising. But really, we can all thank Google for the internet and how we can use it, and how easily we can navigate on it and find our way not only on the internet, but in real life, using maps, etc. They really have changed the way the internet works. So, as I say, what you want to be doing is you want to be making sure that Google likes you. And if Google likes you, it probably means that the users like you as well. And if the users like you, they're spending time on your website and they're buying from you. And that's the ultimate goal after all. So what does Google take into account for their ranking factor in terms of page performance? So there are 5 things that I'm going to talk to you about that you need to consider. Now, some of them are quite technical. Some of them you will be able to do something about yourself if you have a little bit of knowledge and are managing your website yourself. And some of them are more technical, and it's good to know, but you won't be able to do anything about it unless you hire a developer, for instance. And some of these things really, if you have a very small website with only 1 or 2 pages, then it's not going to be affecting you so much. But the bigger your site, obviously, the more pages and the more things going on with it, and the more complicated it gets, then the more not only your site speed, but your page performance is affected. So the 5 things that I'm going to cover are core web vitals, mobile friendly, safe browsing, HTTPS, and no intrusive interstitials. So these are the 5 things that Google really brought into play last year, and they continue to say that these things are very important, and they continue to have their algorithm taking it into account and affecting your website ranking. So before you get too overwhelmed with everything that I mentioned, I'm just going to break it down a little bit for you today. But you can also, afterwards, if you Google Google page experience update, then you'll get a lot of information out there about all of this. So, core web vitals. These 3 things are quite technical that I'm going to cover here, but you'll recognize the effects from your own internet browsing experience. So the first one is LCP, which stands for Largest Contentful Paint. And really this is to do with loading of the page. How long does the largest content element of the visible part of the page take to appear to a user? So this might, in general, be an image on your page. If you think about your home page, people like to make a visual impact when people first land on their home page. So they like to put up a big image. If that image is very large and is not optimized, it can take a long time to load. So when the person has navigated from the search engine results page to your website, they're sitting there and nothing is happening. Or we've all been there where you slowly see something start to come into view. And that is very frustrating because we're all used to things happening like that now. Sometimes people forget, though, that it's not only an image, but also something like a giant block of text, that each block or element on the page takes time to load and is loaded individually. So if you have written a lot of content and you've not broken it up into smaller blocks of text, that can also take a long time to load. So it's not just an image that can affect the LCP or loading of the website, or web page rather. The second thing under Core Web Vitals is FID, First Input Delay. And that's to do with the interactivity of the page. It's the time from when a user first interacts with the page to when it is able to respond. So if you think about it, when a website starts to load for you and you're on the internet and you see that there is a video to play or a place to click in to fill in your contact details, or a link that you want to click through to go to the next page. Especially on mobile, you're clicking on there, but nothing is happening, or it takes a long time for your cursor to actually click into that spot. So that is first input delay, and it's really to do with interactivity. And the third thing under Core Web Vitals is CLS, which stands for Cumulative Layout Shift. This is to do with the visual stability of what the user is seeing. It means how the objects and the elements move around on a page as it is loading. This happens quite a lot with people that have advertisements on their sites or banner images, things like that. And again, especially on a mobile, what happens is people are trying to click on something or trying to read something or view something, and it jumps around on the page, and it's not where they thought it was going to be or where it was half a second ago. And that can be confusing and also frustrating. And as I said, user experience is a huge issue for website performance, and that affects everything about how people and Google view your site. So you don't want to be frustrating them. So that's point number one, core web vitals. So it's very technical sounding, but it's not that technical when you start to really think about how people are interacting on the page. Then within page performance, mobile friendly, and of course we all know that, is your website responsive, and is each particular page on your website being viewed correctly on mobile? We've all been to sites where when you load a page, like it seems that half the image or half the text is cut off, or something becomes too small that you can't read it. So you really have to understand how people are viewing your site on mobile. And then safe browsing. So this is not so much to do with the HTTPS, which I'll get to, but it's to do with whether your website as a whole and the page that people are going to contains malicious or deceptive content. And that's really to do with your website security. And once again, if you have a hosted site, a managed platform site like Squarespace, then you really can't do too much about that. But if you have a WordPress site, then your WordPress developer has control over the site security and making sure that there are no vulnerabilities in your site where people could inject code or hack into your site. So you might not always even be aware of it, but what can sometimes happen is that people, you have all these people out there that are not as honest as we would like them to be, and they've injected code into a page on your site. And what you think people are seeing when they come onto your contact page, for instance, is not what they're actually seeing. And they're actually seeing advertisements for some kind of new drug or something like that. And also, obviously, if it gets hacked, people can change things and put images on that you wouldn't want your customers to be associating with you. So number 4, HTTPS, as I briefly mentioned there. So that is to do with your site's connection security. And really, it seems amazing to me that at this day and age, people still are using HTTP and not HTTPS for their sites, especially if you're selling anything on your website. If you have an e-commerce store, it must be secure and have a secure connection. And you'll see warnings when you come to websites these days that they're not secure. And if you think from a user perspective, you don't want clients to be thinking, I'm not so sure if I should be entering my details here. And then they move on to a site that they're more sure about. So, and that's not really complicated to put a security certificate on your site, but you do need to think about if you did not build the site originally with HTTPS, when you migrate from HTTP to HTTPS, that you need to ensure that all the content on your site is made secure. Otherwise, you'll have what's called mixed content. And again, that will throw up a warning, and Google doesn't like that either. And then lastly, you have something which sounds complicated, intrusive interstitials. So this is really page content that is not is making your page not easily accessible to the user. So when they see the listings on the search engine results page, they think, this is what I'm looking for, and then they click on it. The page that opens up should not have anything blocking the majority of it with something like an advertisement or a large form that they need to fill in before they can actually get to the content. Google wants people, as I said, not to be frustrated, so they should be getting what they think they're getting when they click on a link. So you don't want something that's intrusively interfering and coming between the user and what they want to see on the site that they've clicked on. So digital evolves so quickly all the time. So you really can't have a set it and forget it attitude to your website. You need to be looking at these things all the time and measuring them. The next thing that I want to talk to you about are traffic patterns. So traffic patterns are really about the movement and the behavior of users on your website and each page on it. As we like to say, data tells a story. And so you need to be gathering data on user behavior in order to understand how users are interacting with your site, for good or ill. By analyzing the user journey, you can identify what is working on your site and what isn't. And obviously also how people are interacting on your site and moving about on it affects the SEO of your site as well, because that sends signals again to Google. You really want to be thinking, what are your most popular landing pages? So a landing page is the first page visited on your website, and it will give you a good idea of your marketing and if it is working. So most people land on the homepage first, but that's not necessarily the case. Like, you know yourself, when you're searching for something on Google and you see the results that come up, you're looking for something specific, an answer to a question generally. And when you click on that link, it's not necessarily the home page of the website that contains the information, but the specific page that contains the information that you're looking for. So as a business owner, your homepage, yes, is important, but you might be thinking, what is it that you really want people to be landing on? What is drawing them in? And then what is going to keep them on? So you want to analyze how your landing pages are performing. And then, of course, you want to see what are your most popular pages. In general, that will be your homepage, because that kind of is what people know. And it's most likely people that are directly typing in a URL will type in a homepage URL rather than /blog / how to measure your website. But knowing what are your popular pages gives you an idea of, I had really wanted them to land on this page about my course, and it's really not getting the amount of traffic that I thought that it would. And that would really then say, okay, why is that happening? And what can I do to change that? You want to also just look at how users move from one page to another on your website. Are they following kind of the user journey that you set up and expected them to follow? And then also, of course, which page do they exit most often from your website? That might give you an indication that they're not finding what they're looking for, or they have found what they're looking for and they're satisfied. So that all is about kind of the story that the data builds for you. And you're also obviously looking at which pages they spend the most time on. That will show you that they're interested in that page, and is that the page that you want them to be interested in? Are they encountering your most important information first when they're on a particular page? Like if you've put a form to fill in or a button to click on or an action to take on the lower half of your page, are they scrolling down to actually see that? Or do they never even get there and don't take the action that you want them to take? So it's very important to see what is happening with the traffic on your website? And of course, where is the traffic coming from? Are your marketing efforts on a particular social media platform bearing fruit? Are they coming from here? Have you, if you've had advertising up, is the advertising bringing people to the page that you want them to come to? And if they come to that page, are they taking the actions that you want them to take? So you really need to understand the traffic patterns moving around your website and what that data tells you about the website, which really then is about the conversions on your website, which is the last key metric that I believe that you should be measuring. Because ultimately, you want visitors to your website to take one or more specific actions on it. You don't have a website there just to be pretty or to say, oh, I have a website. You have a website for a reason. So your digital marketing strategy should define what the goals are for your website and your marketing efforts. But if you don't know that if you are achieving your goals, then you don't know what you need to change or improve on or what is working. And in order to know if you're achieving your goals, you have to measure the metrics related to them. What kind of conversions might you have on a website? Well, obviously, especially if you're an e-commerce site, sales on your website are a conversion. Have people bought your product? Have people bought your service? Have people bought your course? And especially on a service website, maybe, sign-ups are important. Are they signing up to a newsletter? Are they signing up to start a call with you? Are they booking in to have a discovery call with you on your Calendly link? Perhaps you just want people to read your blog posts because you're building up a following, you're building up a brand reputation, you're building up the authority that you have within your field. Are people coming? Are they reading blog posts? Are they going all the way to the bottom? Are they spending enough time? If you think that it should take them 10 minutes to read your post, are they leaving the page after 3 minutes? So that really is a conversion depending on what kind of business you have. And then, of course, are people sharing your content on social media? Are people linking to your content? And that really is the ultimate goal of SEO, is backlinks to the content on your website, because that gives signals to Google. If you think all roads lead to Rome, you want all the internet highway links leading to your website and to the important information that you have to share with people on it. So those are the key metrics that I feel that you should be measuring on your website. But then how do you measure these metrics? I'm just going to run through these quickly because I see we're starting to run out of time here. So speed. There's a number of different tools that you can measure the speed of your website. So Google Page Speed Insights. So if you Google that term, you'll come to a page where you can enter the URL. So it can be the homepage URL, like yourwebsite.com, but you might also want to, because it's page speed, you want to look at different important pages on your website and add them in here. And it'll take a few minutes to run through it, and then it will give you an idea of the speed of your website, and it'll give you kind of pointers. It can be quite technical about what is affecting the speed and what you can do to improve it. So I just want to take a drink of water here. The other website links that I have there are also different ways of measuring the speed of your website. And you can also control them. You're going to get a little bit more technical by saying, oh, I want to see what happens. It's like if your website, if you have clients coming from America to your website that is in England, so you want them to be using a server that's based in America to show what American clients, how quickly they will find your website is loading, for instance. Or if you really only have a mobile website, then you want to see only how quickly is it loading on a mobile that is perhaps on a 3G signal, how quickly is your website loading? And then performance. Now, there's a lot of things that can measure performance and give you different aspects of performance for your website. Google Search Console, please tell me that you have uploaded your sitemap to Google Search Console so that Google can find you. That gives you a lot of data. And again, Google PageSpeed Insights will give you data, but you also get paid software applications like SEMrush and Hotjar. Now they have a free version, so if you're just a single user, you can probably get a lot of information for free, and they will tell you how your website is performing technically, but also how users are moving on your website as well. And then lastly, website analytics. You want to have analytics on your website, Google Analytics. Anybody moved to Google Analytics 4 yet? If not, you really need to get cracking on that. And again, Google Search Console, that gives you data about how your website is performing as well. Again, like the traffic that is coming to the website and what is happening when people are on the website too. Okay, sorry, a little bit of a rush there. So does anybody have any questions before we come to the end of the webinar?
That was great. Thanks so much, Geraldine. And actually, one of the questions was asking about how you check the site speed, because I know you said the ideal number is 3 seconds. So it's great that you shared some of those tools there. That was really insightful. And I think saying the website, to look at a website like a business card brochure is actually a really good way to look at it. We have a couple of questions here. Nihal has said, my hosting costs £5.99 per month. This is on a shared server. Loading seems to be within 3 seconds. What are my other options?
Your other options for hosting? Well, it depends on where, as I say, shared hosting is fine for a lot of websites. Like if it's shared hosting and there's just a small number of more brochure style small websites on the host server, then you're not going to see a great impact on that. But the minute that there is a bigger site that comes onto a shared hosting server, or as one of our clients is in the public eye, and it just seems to draw in a lot of hacking attempts and denial of service attacks, which means they're trying to bring the website down by bombarding it with information requests. If somebody else's website is having that happen to them, it'll affect the server, and your website will be slowed down on it. But if you're not seeing anything happen, now then I would stick with it. $5.99 is a good deal. But you want to keep an eye on that, because I said, it's not set it and forget it. You really have things change all the time. So it might be 3 seconds today, and in a month's time, it could be 6, 7, 8 seconds. So you need to keep an eye on it.
Perfect. So never set and forget. That's a good quick tip as well there, Geraldine. We have a message as well has come through from Claudine, who said, how can you tell if someone is satisfied on a page and leave, or if they're not satisfied and leave? So tricky.
That is a very tricky question that has a lot of people wrecking their heads quite. I suppose what you want to be seeing is, if you have something like Hotjar on, it shows you how the majority of people are interacting with your site. It shows you like heat maps where they are clicking and how far they are scrolling down on your site, on the particular page. So each page in your mind, when you are building your site, needs to have a particular goal and reason for its existence. So looking at how the user behaves on the page will tell you whether they are achieving the goal that you wanted. So for instance, like I said, if you want them to read your blog post, if they're not spending that 10 minutes on the page, then you know that if they've only spent 30 seconds on the page, then they haven't read that. So they're not achieving it. Or if you wanted them to look at a particular video, but it's on the bottom half of your page and they haven't scrolled to the bottom half, they haven't clicked and watched the video, then you know they haven't been satisfied with it. It's really only things like that. It's kind of, you have to infer from what's on it and what they do on it, whether they're satisfied or not.
Okay, thank you. And we have a question from Shabari saying, how do you install Google Analytics 4 on your website?
I'm afraid that will take a whole nother webinar to even start to cover. I'm afraid I can't cover that, and it's not something that I particularly am an expert in, but it is completely different. If you're not using Google Tag Manager yet for your universal analytics version of Google Analytics, then you need to switch to using Google Tag Manager first, and then take a series of steps. But I can find out for you if you send me an information request, and my email address is there, but I don't do it for anybody, so I don't know exactly how to do it at this moment in time, but I am in the process of learning because I have to do it for my own website.
That's perfect. Thank you, Geraldine. I have another question in how do you check if you have Google Analytics installed and that it's actually working properly?
Firstly, you have to access your Google Analytics account. If you're on the Google Analytics account, you can actually have there's a real world data. So you can go and open Google Analytics, log in, go to the real world data, and then go and log into your own not log in, but visit your own website. And it should reflect that there is a visitor that has come onto the site. That will tell you whether it is working. There's also any website you can check if it has analytics running on it is if you go into the web developer tools, which you can access through, for instance, the Chrome menu or the Firefox menu, and you go to view source, that'll give you the code, the HTML code for the page, and you can use the find function on your browser. And if you type in, most people still have Universal Analytics on. So if you go UA- and you look for that, it'll come up and show you that Google Analytics is on the website. Another way of doing it is there's a website called builtwith.com. And if you go to that website URL, you can put in any website URL, and it will then give you most of what is running on the website, and it'll tell you that Google Analytics is running on the website as well.
Perfect. We just have probably just two more questions quickly here, Geraldine. Is there a specific site host that you recommend, or like a certain host that you think is better to use?
That's a tricky question because we actually offer hosting ourselves. We offer what's called managed hosting, which means that we look at your website's needs and decide what is the best server for it to be on. And then we install a lot of technical software products to keep an eye on it. We know how your website is performing. We take steps to make sure that it's secure and that it is running smoothly and quickly. And we basically handhold your website all the time. So that's where managed hosting comes in. If you're not but that obviously comes at a cost. So if you're not looking for something that pricey or your website doesn't need it, the biggest host in Ireland is Black Knight. And they do different versions of hosting.
That's great. And I have popped Geraldine's information in the chat there. So the link to Geraldine's profile on Enterprise Nation, so you can connect with her if you had any questions about that. And then finally, you mentioned images can affect the speed of a website. Is it better to have JPEG as an image, or what kind of an image do you think is better on a website?
That can also get quite technical. So you essentially have a JPEG and a PNG, and that's kind of the two traditional file types that there were. Now you have kind of new types of image technology that Google is pushing, but people in general have been slow to adopt that because it's a little bit different, not what we're used to. The difference between the JPEG and the PNG is the PNG has a lot more information within the file, so it's going to make the image the file bigger, but it's also going to make it sharper, especially I don't know if you've seen if you have a big desktop screen, then a lot of images can look pixelated. So it doesn't really matter to have a PNG if you're mostly mobile focused. But a JPEG will load quicker, it can be smaller, so it really depends on why you want the image. Sometimes a little bit of speed kind of loss is better because you want the image to be really impactful and crisp on a large screen. So you really just have to look at the risks and the benefits of that. But you can also, you can minimize the size of things as well. You can reduce their pixels if you have access to something like Photoshop, but also there are websites tinyjpg.com and tinypng.com. If you upload your image to that, it will compress it and download it, and usually you don't have a huge amount of loss of image quality in that.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'm conscious of time, but thank you so much for answering all of those questions. I know someone did ask about having text on the slides and access to the slides. What I will say is this session is recorded, so we will send a follow-up email which will include the recording so that you can go back and tune in again. I'd also say that Go and Grow Online has e-learning as well, and Geraldine did a number of the e-learning modules on the Go and Grow Online e-learning sessions. So again, you can access that to get a little bit more information with regards to SEO, website, everything digital. So do check that out. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I have popped in a quick feedback survey in the chat. We would love to hear your thoughts and what you enjoyed today, and any additional support you might need for your business in future. There is also an opportunity that if you would like to be featured as a case study, which would be going on the website and be shared, again, you can share your details in the survey. But thank you again so much, and thank you, Geraldine, for running such a great session. I feel like I've learned a lot, so I know that everyone else will have as well. So do check out any of the other Go and Grow Online workshops in partnership with Vodafone, Klarna and Microsoft, which are coming up in the coming months, and we hope to see you soon. But thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you again, Geraldine, for such an amazing session. All the best, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.